What's up, Rapport family? It is your boy C Dub. Ryan Williams recommits to Alabama. We give our thoughts about that, as well as asking you the question: is the 2024 recruiting class, does it have the chance to be the best recruiting class in Auburn history? We discuss that, as well as Auburn basketball and more, in tonight's edition of the Midweek Report. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Midweek Report. I am joined by Mike G. Blake Lane from the Up-Tempo Pod joins us. Ike is down there in what I call the overflow of hell, the place where they forget to pay their light bill because the lights go off in the middle of a basketball game. Tuscaloosa, B. Will is out. Blake, thanks for joining us. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us as you tuning in to the latest Midweek Report, courtesy of the Opelika Rage Room. Share this video, smash that like button, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Mike G, tell the people why they need to become a member of the Green Name Gang.
Guys, just do it, all right? Just do it already. Become a member. Where is it? It's coming up. There it goes. Become a patron member. Join the channel. These are like micro sponsorships. If you like some of the other content we're doing a lot of live content lately, guys. If you haven't seen the Trevon Reed interview, highly recommend you go back and watch that. Kind of goes in line with our discussion tonight about recruiting. The firesides. We're going to keep that stuff coming to you all off season. You don't want to miss that content. Help us keep that going by becoming a patron member. $5.99 will get you there. We appreciate everybody that does that. You can also give the gift of the War Report by gifting a membership. Look for that gifted membership button and give the gift of the War Report. Look, YouTube chooses these at random. So if you interact with our channel at a high level, but you haven't made the decision to become a member yet, you're likely to be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships. So please, we appreciate our community for doing that. You guys are doing a great job with that. The War Report Pod Network is alive. The Auburn Express, the Up-Tempo Podcast. Just a sec, College Loop. Blake is here with us from the Up-Tempo Podcast. Him and Dustin do a great job. Go check those guys out. Check us all out on podcasts, whatever you listen to podcasts on. We're there bringing you audio-only content. I want to give a big shout-out to the Opelika Rage Room for sponsoring this show. Opelika Rage Room, go visit them at 1510 2nd Avenue, Opelika, Alabama. Look, if you are frustrated at probably the calls you're watching right now in the basketball game, you can go over to the Rage Room and break some stuff to get stress out. This is an amazing concept. If you're an Auburn fan, you probably are going to be there a lot over the next 12 months. Go check them out. Tell them the War Report sent you. I think they give you a free water and an extra windshield to break if you tell them we sent you over. But yeah, they literally have, guys, they have cars. They have cars you can jump on and hit with a bat.
Oh, so you can simulate like Street Fighter back in the day when you used to beat up the car.
Okay. Right. Yeah. You know, cars, Grand Theft Auto style. Just let's blow it up. Well, maybe not blow it up. That's probably the insurance for that. Probably. But Opelika Rage Room. Also, they have a Birmingham location. So if you're watching us from Birmingham, you can go check them out at 2616 7th Avenue South on Birmingham, Alabama. It's downtown-ish, right, Caesar?
Yeah,
downtown-ish, right? So go check them out there. They have 2 locations, convenient if you're an Auburn fan in Birmingham or Auburn, and you need to get your stress out. Birmingham Rage Room has you covered as well.
Gentlemen, news just broke out. We're going to be talking about recruiting the first part of the show, so let's go ahead and discuss it. Ryan Williams, who it came down to Bama and Auburn for this kid. He was committed to Bama through most of his recruiting process, and I think has it been 2 weeks, 3 weeks since Saban retired? 2 to 3 weeks since Saban retired. That same day he decommitted from Alabama, and Auburn fans kind of felt like they felt good about it. Texas fans felt good about Ryan Williams as well. Ryan Williams visited Alabama over the past weekend, canceled his visit to Texas, basically putting them out of it. And he actually recommitted today to Alabama. General thoughts on this? I will start with you, Blake, since you're visiting with us.
Yeah. First off, I do want to congratulate Ryan Williams. He is from my hometown, and
really?
He is.
All right.
So I've gotten to watch him quite a bit over the past couple of years, and I hope he has a great career. I just hope he doesn't have a great game that last Saturday in November. So, we talked about this last night. Dustin and I were going over the Ryan Williams thing, and I felt great about it because the whole thing was kind of based off relationships. And when we saw T-Rob leave Alabama and go to Georgia, and then Holman Wiggins go to A&M, it kind of looked like it was an Auburn Texas thing. And then you heard the little rumors about Texas was just kind of an NIL leverage push type thing. And then he canceled that visit. And so I was like, okay, well, it's Auburn or Alabama. And you got to feel good where you're at as an Auburn fan, because his relationships have left Alabama. And he took a visit, and we can sit here and say that NIL played a part in it and all of that stuff, but ultimately, man, I think Michael Penix Jr. coming out and saying that if you're a wide receiver, you need to go to Alabama, I think that played a part in it. I think Coach Grubb and what he did with that offense and the high flying receivers they had, and Adunze and Polk and McMillan and all that. It's hard for Ryan Williams to look at that and say, man, no way I could pass down that offense, because I think he's going to be the highlighted guy over there, and I think he's going to have a great career. So I wish him the best, and like I said, I just hope that he doesn't have that game in the last Saturday of November.
Mike G, this is an Auburn legacy.
Yeah.
So, in the grand scheme of things, considering the class that Auburn's brought in, how much does this sting, if any?
I don't think that it stings a ton in terms of, I mean, again, he was originally committed to Alabama. Now, they worked hard to try to flip this commitment, but guys, there's a lot of top flight receivers to bring in one class, right? And convince everybody that everybody's going to play and there's going to be enough ball to go around. So, look, man, at the end of the day, Ryan Williams, he looked right. He saw greatness. He said no. He looked left. He saw more greatness. He said no. He looked up to the sky and he chose mediocrity. And some people are blessed with the gift of discernment and others are not. Like Blake said, I wish him well, but I think this might be a little bit of a floundering ship here. You got a brand new coach, guys, that's coming in. And you had players running for the hills. So the allure of Alabama, I think, is ultimately what is keeping him here. Also, the idea that, look, everybody wants to be the dude. Right? I commend Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman for playing together, with Malcolm Simmons and Bryce Kane. I do. I commend those guys. That's early 2000s Auburn stuff. That's Ronnie Cadillac stuff. We're both stars, but we're going to play together and we're going to make a difference. I think that's the kind of stuff you want. Now, look, Ryan Williams, he looked at it. He made the decision that he felt like he was in his best interest. Given the state of Auburn's passing game, I cannot say that I blame him all too much for making this decision. But, who knows where Alabama's going to be. DeBoer, obviously, he's coming off a national title appearance. He's about to find out that the SEC is something different. And I think that a lot of Alabama fans woke up to the reality of their recruits running out the door. Hey, we've been to the University of Nick Saban for almost the last 17 years or whatever, how long he's been there. And it's not going to be that easy. And top level coaching is what got you there. Now you have a guy who you don't know. You don't know that he's going to be a top level coach in the SEC. Ryan Williams, they sold him something. I do believe NIL probably played a factor. Especially since all those recruits went out the door. You can't tell me they didn't throw the bag to keep him in. Whatever his original bag was, Blake, they probably doubled it to try to keep this kid in the fold.
Yeah, the Sayin and Caleb Downs money probably went straight to Ryan Williams. If I just had to guess, I think Julian Sayin leaving, because I don't know if it's true or not, but there was like a rumor where he was asking for an absurd amount of money to stay and all this stuff, and so I imagine whatever he was wanting or getting, and then Caleb Downs, I know he was an All-American, freshman All-American, and probably making a lot of money. And so I'm sure that went to Ryan. So
I would look at it this way. Look, Alabama bumbled Saban's exit. There's no debate about it, right? They waited until the end of the portal period, thinking they could handcuff kids a little bit, even though it was going to open for them, and it worked. And you had a bunch of dudes running for the exits. Because they wanted to play for Saban. They came here for Saban. We've said it over and over on this show. Kids commit to coaches primarily, institutions secondarily. It's just the way it is. So, you went out and you bumbled this and you're bringing this guy in. And if you're Alabama as an institution, you owe it to Kalen to help him hold some of this class together. Right. Open the pocketbooks if that's what it's going to take, and you got to hold some of this class together for him. I think he made this decision. Would have been a cherry on the top for Auburn, Caesar, but ultimately, I don't think anybody's crying too much over this.
I guess if anything, you just didn't want him. If he stayed in state, you wanted him with Auburn. You didn't want to have to deal with him in the Iron Bowl each and every year. But again, there's some guys that Bama has to deal with on our side. I mean, Perry Thompson. They wanted Perry Thompson. Mm-hmm. We got him. So I guess when it comes to your rivals, you're going to win and lose your fair share of these battles. We just happen to lose this one. Brad Browning is asking, and I don't know if any of us are aware, did he cancel his visit to AU? Because he was supposed to have the last official visit to Auburn.
My understanding is that he has. We know officially he canceled his visit to Texas. Right. But my understanding is I don't know why he would visit after he just recommitted. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But guys, I'd start moving on from this one emotionally.
Yeah, his dad's already put on social media that they're 100% Alabama. Mm-hmm. He's already said, "Give me the natty for 2024, us versus Texas." So,
yeah,
he's locked in.
Okay. Well, listen, let's get into the conversation. Obviously we're going to still see Ryan Williams' name, but let's recap or just kind of talk about this class that we have coming in, because I think Ryan Williams was the last guy that Auburn was trying to get on board in this second signing day. So it'll probably be more than likely an uneventful signing day for Auburn. Can this class or will this class be the best one in AU history? Now, to recap, Auburn finished 2024. This class is across the board. It's 8th in rivals, 8th 247, 8th in on 3.
Consensus 8th. Okay.
Consensus 8th recruiting class. The recruiting classes that I want to put this up against are the 2010 class. That was the class that had Cam Newton. And by the way, let's show them, Mike, real quick.
Okay.
Let's show them real quick the 2010 class. That class consisted of Cam Newton, who Mike gave an extra star to, so he's a 6-star. Sean Coleman, Michael Dyer, Jake Holland, Jeremy Richardson, Joel Bonomolo. Always butchered his name. Kenneth Carter, Ladarius Owens, Craig Sanders, Trevon Reed, Antonio Goodwin, Brandon Mosley, Rozelle Gayton, Eric Mack, Jeffrey Whitaker, Corey Lemonnier, Brandon Mosley. These are all 4-stars. So we're not listing anyone who's 3 stars or lower in the recruiting class, but we're listing these guys here This class was, you can almost kind of say, a consensus top 6 class. It was 7th in rivals. No, I'm sorry. This class was actually 6th in 247, and it was 4th in rivals. So it was a top 5 class in rivals. Let's talk about the players who were actually drafted from this class. They had 4 guys from this class actually get drafted. Corey Lemonier was drafted in the 3rd round. Brandon Mosley was a 4th rounder. Cam Newton, of course, we know where he went. Sean Coleman, who once he got back healthy, he had some health challenges. He got drafted years later, 3rd rounder. Trevon Reed, who's listed here, did not get drafted, but was a free agent and played a few years in the NFL. So we have a total of 5 players from this class that actually ended up in the NFL. Cam Newton, of course, went on to be league even MVP, played in the Super Bowl. So thoughts about this class, guys. And I think because of recency bias, we're excited about this class, but this has been heralded by a lot of people as the best class because of what Auburn was able to do with this recruiting class they brought in. Thoughts, Mike?
Man, okay, so making the distinction, all these other guys except for Cam and Brandon Mosley were recruited out of high school, right? And Cam obviously makes this a different kind of conversation. But Sean Coleman, he got sick, thank God he got better. But I believe, Caesar, he had some sort of cancer that he was recovering from, like when they were recruiting him. Right. Michael Dyer, obviously, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of Arkansas and probably the hero of that national title game. The word on the street is that he wasn't down. So Auburn celebrates a championship because of that. But
this class could have been much better too, because Auburn was in after 2 other running backs. Yeah. I think Lake Seastrunk and what was the running back from South Carolina?
If you had asked his
me, name. Those in the chat can remember.
Yeah. The kid that went, Lachey Seastrunk, right? And oh man, you're killing me with this one.
Let's see, I can look it.
Marcus Lattimore.
Marcus Lattimore. There you go. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Brad. So they had a shot to be even better. Obviously, this class went on to win a national title, right? And Brandon Mosley, Corey Lemonier was a contributor. Jeffrey Whitaker was so underrated. God, he was such a great player. They just had, everybody knew their roles. I believe, Blake, it was Kenneth Carter that ran down Mark Ingram in the Iron Bowl to punch the ball out. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I could have swore it was him that had the
punch
out.
I don't know if it was. I don't know if he was playing.
I'm probably wrong here. But look, this was a great class. This is a great class, and you can't argue with a class that went on to win a national title. And again, you had contributors here. Michael Dyer was not a spectator in this class. Now we know, his time at Auburn ended very unceremoniously. But this was Auburn football. This was Auburn recruiting at its peak, I think.
And Antoine Carter.
Antoine Carter. Okay, I knew it was a Carter. And this was Auburn football at its peak. This class was great, man. They recruited guys that fit what they were trying to do. If Michael Dyer, is not a head case, right, then, this may look different in the years to come. Trevon Reed, again, recruited as an athlete. He started at wide receiver. They ended up moving him to DB, but, he is one of the highest rated recruits in Auburn history. Go to Rivals, look at the bottom where they rate all the recruits in history. He's like a top 10 recruit in all of Auburn history. And the fact that he went on to recruit for Auburn over 10 years later, poetic justice. This was a great class. I think they did a fantastic job with this class. Now, how does it stack up to the 2024 class? We'll get to that in a second. But all these guys you're looking at here are 4-star, consensus 4 stars.
how great of a class would this have been if Cam? I mean, obviously, this class drops if Cam's not a part of it, right? So Cam is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. We got to be honest about this class. I mean, Michael Dyer was a big deal. He was a big pool, and obviously, to your point, Mike, he contributed a lot in the national championship game as well as throughout the season. Blake, your thoughts about this class and who stands out to you outside of the obvious?
In the 2010 class,
Yes.
Brandon Mosley, Michael Dyer, obviously, Craig Sanders, Jake Holland, boy,
underrated.
Yeah. Antonio Goodwin, obviously Trevon Reed, for what he has done, in his career now.
I thought Jake Holland was overrated, but
Okay, all right, that's fair.
Yeah. That's I don't want to down former guys or anything, but yeah. So, but Trevon Reed and everything that he's done for the school and what he does now, man, those are the guys that stick out to me, and obviously Cam, and Cam still gets disrespected to this day. He comes out and he gives his opinion on his podcast of what the quarterback play should look like in the NFL, and
he's right,
and he's 100% right, and he gets drugged through the mud, and I just think some people are jealous that he was one of one, and he went to one of the worst organizations in the NFL, and he brought them to relevancy. So,
right.
And 2010, great class. 2024, I think, has the chance to be an even better class, and then I think 2025 could be even better than that. So I think Auburn's in a hell of a spot.
They have, man. Look, there are over 6,000 languages in the world. Blake decided to be fluent in facts. Those are all facts, guys. Cam Newton was like, does anybody remember Trooper Taylor going out to see Cam at Blinn and then coming back and tell Chiswick, we have to get this guy. He's a program changer. They pressed him. And they were like, yo, like, we can't let you make the mistake of not getting Cam Newton. And they decided, and they got him there, right? Now Cam has come out and openly talked about what that process was like on his podcast. I encourage people to go look that up and about how he ended up at Auburn, in his words. But Corey Lemonier, I believe that's how we say it. Corey Lemonier, he went on to play with the 49ers. He had a pretty decent pro career, and he had a huge tackles, right, in that championship. I mean, this was a great squad. This was a great squad. And this was when you win a championship with a squad like this is where your program has to take advantage of that and start trending up in terms of talent acquisition. And we saw that to some extent. I mean, all through Gus's years, essentially, they averaged until like 2020, they averaged a top 10 class. From 2010 to 2020, Auburn averaged a top 10 class. This was kind of like the start of that next tier of Auburn recruiting. Crazy class.
Yeah, indeed. So before we get to the break, let's talk about the other class that we were considering, the 2014 class, Mike G. You actually had the graphic and everything ready for that class, and I said, wait a minute, I think we got one better. We're talking about the 2011 class. This class here and this was an impressive class. This had Jonathan Rose. These are all 4 stars plus 1. And mind you, these recruiting rankings are courtesy. What we're showing here on the graphics are courtesy of 247. So the 4 stars are as follows: consensus 4 stars: Jonathan Rose, Reese Dismukes, Kyle Frazier, Chris Frost, Robinson Therizi, Sammy Coates, Thomas O'Reilly, Quan Bray, CJ Uzoma, Enrique Florence, Greg Robertson, Angelo Blackson, Jermaine Whitehead, Brandon Folse, Gabe Wright, and Christian Westerman. Trey Mason was listed as a 3-star here. Other recruiting sites, I think Rivals may have had him as a 4-star, but we all know how special he was and how big he was in this recruiting class. Guys, this was the national championship team pretty much that faced off against Florida State in Pasadena. Like a lot of these guys were a big part of that team. Sammy Coates, obviously Trey Mason, who was a Heisman finalist, Greg Robinson. A lot of these kids were on that team. Reese Dismukes, a lot of those guys. So from this team alone, this class had 6 guys drafted into the NFL. So already more than the 2010 class. CJ Uzoma was a 5th rounder. Trey Mason, a 3rd rounder. Gabe Wright, a 4th rounder. Greg Robinson was a 1st rounder. Sammy Coates was a 3rd rounder. Angelo Blackson was a 4th rounder. Reese Dismukes, Jermaine Whitehead, Quan Bray, and Robinson Therizi were all free agents and played in the league for a brief period of time. So they produced or put almost 10 guys into the league from this class alone. Mike G, your thoughts about this recruiting class?
Look, CJ Uzama and Angelo Blackson are actually still in the league. They're still playing football. Kyle Frazier might be the most overrated recruit in Auburn history. I challenge you, good sirs. Name a recruit more overrated than Kyle Frazier. Just one. One guy. You can't. It's him. He's the one. He's a different kind of him. It was almost like he never played like he never played quarterback when he got to Auburn. It was when the year he took over. Did anybody remember us having to recover an onside kick to beat Utah State?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's how that season went. Wild, dude. Wild. And so, look. Quan Bray turned in to a pro. He went on to play for the Colts. Sammy Coates. Look, man, he was with the Steelers for a while, but he made some big catches at Auburn, and he was an instrumental part of that championship run. So, it was his career was something I think that man, it could have been more. It definitely could have been more, but he had a great career here. Jermaine Whitehead went on to play with the Packers. Greg Robinson was the top 5 pick. Like I said, Uzama is still in the league. Westerman, he was an Arizona kid. He ended up transferring out. Chris Frost didn't really see his potential here, but this was a great class. Now, again, all consensus 4 stars. I added Trey Mason to this group because my man ran for 1,800 yards in a championship run and made New York. Now, they recruited him. And whenever he was – Trey Mason, he played like a 5-star. So we're clear. He played like a 5-star running back in college. He could not be stopped. He was an automatic 3.5 yards every single time he touched the ball. And, at the end of the day, Trey was just too good to overlook in this class. This was, to me, if we're excluding today, hear me out. Even with Cam, this was Auburn's best class. I think this was to me. This was Auburn's best class. So I think 247 had them ranked 5 or 6 or something like that. I mean, they were up there. Rivals had them ranked a little lower.
They were 7th according to Rivals and 5th according to 247.
So similar to the 2010 class, this class played for a national title, and you had a top 5 pick, and Greg Robinson. This class was amazing.
Yeah. Blake, your thoughts, man?
Can we just get back to the O-line, 2011 recruiting class?
I know it, right? All right.
A top 5 pick on the Auburn O-line. I'll take that all day. But look, Kyle Frazier, man, him and Holland are the 2 for me that are just tough to talk about. I believe it was the at Arkansas. We went to Arkansas, I believe, and Kyle Frazier. I think it was at Arkansas where it was just abysmal. It was like worst. It was like the worst day that you could have, man. A lot of hype around him, and it just didn't work out. But Robinson Therizi, I thought he was a dog. Sammy Coates. just right up the road for me, Leroy High School. Shout out to him, man. Watching him in high school, he was a 2-sport athlete, could play some serious baseball. Ooh, dude was a dog, man. CJ Uzoma, just Auburn getting back into using a guy like that in their offense, and Fairweather this past year doing some big things, and then hopefully next year continuing to grow on that. Man, I agree with you. I think this class, as we look at today's class, this is the one that I would like to throw up against it.
Yeah, we will definitely do that when we come back from the break. Before we do that, I'm gonna grab some comments real quick that we have here. Oda Smith of the Super Chat says JB will score 20 plus tonight. Buck Fama, stupid Gumps. Hoping we pull out the W. We're in a fight right now, but we'll see how this game pans out. B Will's forehead says y'all sent Ike to screw with the Lightning in Turd Town, and you can't change my mind. We will not attempt to. B Will's forehead. Appreciate you being with us, buddy. Our buddy Mike Hicks says hate to miss out on Ryan, but isn't Cam Coleman rated higher?
Yes.
Be good with our group regardless. Listen, Freeze 4 still's got a nice ring to it.
He is. Cam Coleman is. He's the truth.
Yep.
He is the type of wide receiver that will make any quarterback 2 to 3% better than he actually is in terms of completion percentage. If you throw him the ball enough, he's the guy that's going to save you. He's the type of receiver that Auburn fans clamor for, Caesar.
Yeah.
Blake, I'm telling you, he is the type of guy, body adjustment mid-air. He can find the ball. He's good in space. He's got good top end speed for a tall guy. I just great hands. I don't know what more you want in a receiver.
Guys, I was watching a TikTok the other night, and Cam was in the back of the end zone, and the ball was thrown behind him.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And he just reaches back, plucks it, and then just both feet in, just kind of a little toe tap, bang, I'm in.
Yeah.
He drops the ball, does his little celebration, and I was like, man, this dude right here is unreal.
I was there watching that one, Blake, and I got a video of that with my phone, and the video didn't do it justice because I had to like 20x zoom on an iPhone, but it was crazy how he kind of like stopped. He was running across the middle of the end zone, and he like stopped his body, with all his momentum going this way, and reached back and grabbed the ball in mid. I was like, come on, man, this is a cheat code. This is a cheat code.
Yeah, no, I think we'll be okay. Stuart Donald says, wasn't Chris Davis a special teams warrior on the 2010 team? He was. He was a 3-star, so we didn't list him. But yes, obviously, one of the biggest Auburn memories was courtesy of Chris Davis in the Iron Bowl against Bama in the championship run in 2013. So for sure. Thanks for pointing that out, Stuart. Before we get to the break, Oda says the Freeze 4, the 4 Horsemen sounds better to him. We'll go with that, Oda. I'm not mad at that at all. But listen, you are watching the Midweek Rapport courtesy of the Opelika Rage Room. Smash that like button or share this video. Smash that like button and subscribe. We're going to pause, come back, and talk about this recruiting class and how it stacks up with those and who could be potential pro prospects on this recruiting class. We'll talk about that and more. We'll be back. First, let's acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageroom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
Guys, become a patron. Join our channel. You can help us keep the good work of the War Report going by becoming a patron. $5.99 a month will get you there. You can also give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button and giving the gift to somebody who hasn't done it yet. Film reviews. We got more special content that will be behind that paywall for our members, so you don't want to miss out on that. Hit that gifted membership button. Help somebody else get content. Get a green name in the chat. If you're wondering why your name is not green. It's because you're not a member. So become a member. The War Report Podcast Network is live. Check us out. The Auburn Express, Uptempo. Blake is from the Uptempo, College Loop, and Just a Sec. We're doing a lot of great stuff over there. So audio-only content for your commute or, for any time you can't be in front of your computer. The War Report Podcast Network is there for you. Didn't mention it at the top of the broadcast, but definitely going to mention it now. We give away something every live cast. We're giving away a mug. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. We will draw at the 1 hour mark. So you got to be here to win. The chat will let us know quickly if you are not within 10 seconds. So hashtag get your weight up in the comments. And the War Report, the Midweek Report is brought to you in part by Manscaped. Manscaped.com to take care of your grooming needs. Cheers to the new year from our friends at Manscaped, because your resolutions shouldn't be the only thing that are well kept. 2024 is the time for new heights, new opportunities, and a new look for your Times Square balls. Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're looking to maintain a trim or go for that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Trusted by over 10 million men worldwide. Now is your time to get a grip on your grooming with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code REPORT for 20% off, plus free shipping. Happy New Year, or happy new balls. Manscaped.com.
Yeah. Steve Neely.
That's what they wanted me to read.
Yeah, I get it. Gotta do what you gotta do. Stephen Neely says, appreciate the super chat. He says, still freeze 5 in my mind, featuring Walker White as the gun slinger.
He made a huge jump in the player rankings. He was like just outside the top 100, and they jumped this man all the way up like 41 on 247.
I always thought he was rated really low.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, did they know something we didn't? But
yeah, it's a little quarterback heavy in the top 50 this year. There were 5 quarterbacks in front of him, I think.
I think he also got a little hate because he plays in the private school Arkansas League or whatever. Everybody, that was everybody's biggest thing was what kind of competition is he playing against? He come out in that All-American game and he was letting it fly, man. That was the biggest thing that stuck out to me was his arm talent. The zip on the throws, from one hash to the sideline. I mean, he showed it, man. I think that's what Auburn's been missing in a quarterback.
Let's talk about this class, since we're already mentioning people from the class, and let's talk about how we think this class could potentially stack up. Mind you, they haven't played a single game, but there's a lot of potential on this class. Let's recap some of the big players of this class, which made it a consensus top 8 recruiting class. Obviously, we see Cam Coleman, Mike, of course, doing some magic down there. We had a question mark by Ryan Williams going into the show. That has all but been answered. Those questions have been answered. But you got Cam Coleman.
Don't let me do the graphics, Caesar, if you don't want poop emojis on them.
Yeah, you're going to figure out a way to put poop on something. Amaris Williams, who they have listed as an edge, but I think he will be more of a defensive end. At Auburn. Walker White, who we already mentioned, DeMarcus Riddick, Jamonte Waller, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, DeAndre Carter, Amon Lane, Joseph Phillips, and Bryce Kane. These are some heavy hitters on this class. And again, this is showing all of the consensus 4 stars. Obviously, Cam Coleman is a 5. I think they may have had Perry Thompson actually dropped in 247. I think he was a 4-star.
Yeah.
And I think, Amaris Williams became a 5-star, I think, according to 247. So this is all that are listed per 247. Blake, your thoughts about this class? Where do you think this class stacks up or could potentially stack up with the other 2 that we previously discussed?
I think it could be right there with that 2011 class, or maybe even better, man. Like this class, first, I just want to start on the offensive side of the ball. I think DeAndre Carter was one of the biggest gets in this class because of the struggling years that you've had at offensive line, and to just go out to California and then seeing that, I believe it was Texas that made the late push, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
And just keeping them off of him and bringing him in. You look, I'm from Mobile. Bryce Kane, Perry Thompson, they're unreal. I think Perry took a drop because I'm, like I said earlier, I'm not here to down a high school kid or anything like that, but his quarterback just wasn't ready for varsity football.
Yeah.
They just, I went and watched him 4 times this year, and the ways that they had to get him the football, he just wasn't able to put up a lot of stats, wasn't able to get out in space or anything like that. So I think he took a hit there. Malcolm
Mm.
Simmons, underrated. I think you're bringing in elite talent outside to get back to what Hugh Freeze and the numbers he was doing at Ole Miss, and then you bring in a guy like Walker White at quarterback, and like I just said, man, he just impressed me so much in that All-American game. I thought the arm talent was there, and just the accuracy looked to be there. There was a couple times where he let them sell high, but that's going to happen. And then I look over on the defensive side of the ball. Jamonte Waller, just getting him from Florida, and DeMarcus Riddick, that was a win over Alabama. I think a lot of these guys have a potential to go pro. And I think a lot of these guys have potential to step on the field early at Auburn and play and help contribute, especially Jamonte Waller. I think that dude, I think he's going to be up there early.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have my eyes set on Jamonte Waller. I have my eyes set on Cam Coleman as guys who we expect to be able to contribute immediately to this team, especially starting in 2024. Mike G, who are some of the prospects or some of the signees who, apart from any type of development, right? We've seen players at Auburn in the past, because they were so good, they were going to make it to the league regardless, right?
Yeah.
Cam Newton was an example of that. But who are some guys on this class who, whether they do a poor job or not with these kids, they're going to make it to the league? They're going to hear their name called.
Well, obviously Cam Coleman is gone. I don't think you can mess that kid up. Honestly, he's just a baller, and he's going to be there no matter what. DeMarcus Riddick, I think, kind of is like the forgotten man, but quietly, he might be one of the best all-around players in this class, right? Like, I want to give credit to Cam Coleman, because I just think he's good, but I think DeMarcus Riddick is going to be another can't miss guy. And you can't convince me otherwise. Until he's not, he is, right? Like, and so it's going to be interesting to see, where things land up there. But going into California and getting DeAndre Carter, Caesar, wild. Like, going to get an offensive lineman out of the top offensive lineman out of California is crazy. So good job by the staff here. But hear me out on this one. The future for Hugh Freeze rests, to me, at Auburn, rests on the arms of Walker White. I think Walker White is the guy that you need to change the narrative around quarterback at Auburn University. It has been so long since Auburn has had a freshman come in, develop in the system, and be the guy. Right? Like, man, honestly, the last ones were probably Brandon Cox and Jason Campbell. Name another QB who Auburn recruited out of high school, started here and finished here, and did anything of note. It's been JUCO guys primarily coming in on the good years.
Yeah.
The multi-year starters. So, obviously it didn't click for Jason Campbell until his last year. But I just think, and Brandon Cox was so like he was a very underrated quarterback, if you ask me. I gotta say, man, like I think that Walker White jumping from like 101 to 41 says it all. You went in and you got a huge receiver haul, and then you got a guy who I know he's like the 5th quarterback in this class, but let's be clear, man. There's not a lot in the top. There's not a lot of separation in the top 50 until you get to like the top like 7 or 8. There really isn't. It's very subjective in the top 50 who's better than who.
Right.
Walker White could be one of the 2 best quarterbacks in the country this year. I know that's my fantastical statement going in to 2024. I bet the house on Jay Fair. It paid in spades to me. I don't care. Like, it wasn't his fault. But I think he showed that he was special receiver on this roster last year. Walker White has got to be the dude. He's got to be. He's got to be the guy that we're talking about for years to come at Auburn if this thing is going to work for Hugh Freeze. Because you don't have, we're going to deal with this in a future War Report segment, but guys, what does a QB battle look like? We told everybody that there was not going to be a portal QB. Said it for weeks. People screamed, you can't go in with just Peyton Thorne. They were upset. And I get it. But the staff made it clear what their vision at QB was. And now I don't think they planned on the bowl game going the way that it did. So maybe there was a little bit of a last-minute pivot, a rethink of the strategy, but ultimately this is where they wanted to end up, right? They wanted to end up using a guy they already have for next year and giving Walker some time to develop and then take the reins with these receivers that you have. Now, can he step in as a freshman and do it? Man, it's tough. That's a tough calculus for a coach. Throw a guy out there too early and you could ruin him. So they're going to need the line for him, but you've got the young receivers. Could it be much worse with Walker White? Could you win 6 games with Walker White at quarterback next year?
I would think you could.
If the answer is yes, you might need to just go ahead and play him. If the answer is yes, and you can get him that on-field experience and let him develop with these receivers, why not? I think that Freeze should get to year 3 no matter what. So why not? I would take mediocre results in the win-loss column if it meant that Walker and these receivers got to grow together for a whole other year. Because the year after that, they're going to tear up the SEC. That's all I'm saying. So, again, yes, Cam Coleman's going to go pro. DeMarcus Riddick's probably going to go pro. It would be nice to see my man Walker White be the surprise on this list and go pro.
I think that this class here we're going to find out a lot about how well this staff can develop talent.
Yep.
Now the clock starts in terms of whether or not they can develop guys, because a name on who's not pictured here, who I'm expected to actually be a really good player for us, who could potentially be a pro prospect, is DJ Barber. I expect to see him because I think he was in high school. He was a more polished linebacker than DeMarcus Riddick. I think Riddick has all the talent and athleticism in the world to be an amazing player. So he's another guy who I have my eyes on. DeMarcus Riddick, but I'm curious to see what they do with these linebackers. This is one of the best linebacker hauls we've had in quite some time to a position group that has needed that infusion of talent. And so I'm looking forward to see what they do with the Joseph Phillips of the world, how well Jamonte Waller is able to assert himself. DeMarcus Riddick. I mean, we've heard good things about DeMarcus Riddick already during the bowl game. And so through bowl preparation, pardon me. But I'm excited to see. I think we have the opportunity to rival the 2011 class in terms of how many guys hear their names called for the NFL draft, as well as how many people ultimately end up playing for a pro team from this class, assuming that everything falls right and Hugh Freeze is able to get things going with this class. I think we'll be pleased with how these kids' careers end up.
Yeah, look, okay, I know how this is going to play on the message boards and everywhere else, but I'm telling you, like Walker White, I'm telling you, I would accept a 7-6 season if it meant he got a chance to develop. Only if it's not going to hurt his development, though. Like if it's going to be a mess and you're not going to know what you're doing, and Freeze is calling plays, so I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting it to be the head coach's vision of offense this year, which is why I'm almost okay with, as long as now he's still got to go out there and earn it, right? Like he's still got to win it in spring ball and in fall camp. But what have we seen that says that he can't? I mean, there were a lot of ways to get to 6 and 7.
Right.
So you know what I mean? If that's what you're going to do, man, give him a real shot to win the job. But if you're going to bury him because of experience,
well, let me ask you this: Is it? I think you have to consider him if he's your best player.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think it boils down to that. I want to play the best guy.
But is that what we thought happened last year?
No, that is not what happened last year.
So again, that's the line of fire I think the staff has to cross. If he's the best guy, don't hold him back for external factors unless you really believe it is going to be a detriment to his development. And I get it. It's a tough decision. I want to acknowledge it's a tough decision to throw freshmen out there early. It is. And freshman quarterbacks, day one freshman quarterbacks don't generally do well in our league. So it would be a risk. It would be a risk. But that's what you make $6 million a year to do, man, is to figure out some version of an offense that protects him and develops him, but gets you, but moves you forward offensively. Because here's the thing, man. The portal giveth and the portal taketh away, guys. So the same way Auburn fans were clowning Bama for all the dudes that ran when Saban, have a mediocre offense next year that doesn't move the needle, and your Cam Coleman's and Perry Thompson, those guys have a freebie in their pocket too.
Yeah.
You need to show them something next year, so that means picking the right trigger man.
Correct.
So that those guys, even if, again, it's not in wins and losses, yards and opportunities are there.
Yeah.
We saw for 2 drives that you do have a QB who could potentially be that in Hank Brown.
Right. Give him a chance to win. But see, this is what I'm talking about. An inexperienced guy, but had no shot to win the job during the season.
Right.
Is it possible he was the best one in there the whole time? At some point, you have to get past that line of like, these guys have more experience and just play the dude who outplayed everybody else in practice.
Right.
Do y'all think NIL has anything to do with it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'm sorry. I will die on that hill as well, too. When the money goes out the door, it's coming from somewhere. There is not an endless pot of money for NIL. Now, Auburn's got rich donors, and those guys have deep pockets. But I just want to hip everybody to the game on how this works. They say they need a guy, and they have to go. Like, if you're not signing, as far as I know, On to Victory signups aren't in this place yet. So if you want to change this narrative, go sign up for On to Victory. But other than that, a lot of money that was going to Tigers Unlimited, which is the athletic department's fundraising arm, is now being diverted to NIL funds. And those guys aren't just giving more money, they're splitting dollars.
Yeah.
So if you say we need a top portal QB, well, we know from Matt Rule and some of these other guys that you need like $1 million to get a top portal QB. Where do you think that money's coming from? You have to go make a case for that dude. And then when he gets here, if I gave you $1 million to go get a quarterback and then he loses the job, why would I give you another $1 million to sit a dude on a bench? It 100% plays a factor.
My biggest thing going in with Walker White is I want him to get a shot, and if he's that guy, then play him, because I'm to the point where, you know, I'm tired of I'm tired of taking a back seat to teams that we shouldn't be taking a back seat to, and I don't experience is out the window at this point. If Walker White can make all the throws, and in year one, I'm not going to hold it against him for going on the road and losing in Athens or going on the road and losing in Tuscaloosa. Um, it's tough to start in the league as a freshman. We look at Bo Nix, man. He struggled in Gainesville. He struggled at home until that fourth quarter against Georgia, and then he couldn't complete the 4th and 2 there. There was just moments in that year where he struggled as a true freshman, and you saw that. But I'm to the point of open competition, like Hugh said, and let the best man win. And you know, if it is Walker White, let him go out there and sling it, because I feel like Cam and Perry and Bryce and Malcolm and all that whole receiving core, I feel like they believe in Walker White, and I feel like they have found something in a guy, and they believe what he's preaching, and he's been one of the biggest recruiters for Auburn. So if he's the best guy, play him. If Hank Brown's the best guy, play him. If Peyton Thorne comes out and he has a fantastic spring, this is what I said on our show is Peyton was here for 2 to 3 months last year before the season started. He didn't get a full off season. Let's see what he can do in the spring. Right? If he comes out and he takes a step, and we see a new guy at 8A and we say, okay, well, you know, this is different. All right. And, you know, you get into that first week and you see a different guy. Let's just give the man a full off season, give him a full fall camp. I just want the best guy to win. And, you know, I want it to be straight up. So,
well, I will say this. One thing we have learned over the past year one under Hugh Freeze, is that he pretty much says what's on his mind when he's meeting with the media.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I don't want to hear, regardless of who he selects. I don't want to hear a reason other than this QB outperformed everybody else. I don't want to hear I gave this person the job so that they can settle down. I don't want to hear some reason. Like, listen, if I don't show up to work, if I show up to work late, I don't do my job, I'm not getting a promotion.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see anyone get promoted to QB1 because they got outworked by some of the other guys in the room. I want the guy who's working the hardest, playing the best, making other guys better around him better. I want to see that guy get promoted. If it's Peyton Thorne, so be it. But at the very least, we can say we had a true competition because you allowed those guys to show what they can do.
Hear me out.
Okay.
I love everything that Blake said. I just want to add a caveat. I think personally, in my opinion, the math for Thorne is different than the math for the other guys, because you brought him in here because his experience was supposed to shorten the learning curve. So the spring that you're talking about was not supposed to matter as much for him.
Right.
You know, Caesar, what you're talking about, the other reasons. You know,
right.
You don't bring a guy in there because you're worried about him pressing in camp.
Right.
Like, what? Come on, man. That's an excuse you
I'm
give.
worried about Hank Brown.
Hank Brown, yeah.
Right.
Or Walker White, if you give him the job. We feel like he's the best, but he's pressing, so we named him to start. Okay, I can accept that for the young guys. If you're Thorne, you have to be better every day, every rep. You can't be outplayed on any single day by a guy who has zero experience. It just can't happen. Right? Because after 3 years of starting, at what point does the coach accept that that's just your ceiling? Because what more can he do in practice at this point? Right? Because if he can, that means he wasn't whatever you saw in practice before didn't truly win him the job. Hear me out on this one. if we're to believe what you said last year, then what can he do this year that makes you believe what happens in practice is going to make the in-game results any better?
Right.
You know? So again, if you're going to die on that hill, man, and they might, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a hard sell. 3 years, man. Like, you know, I mean, we've heard this about, and I'm not saying that he can't get it together in year 4. I'm not saying that that's not possible. I'm just saying it's tough to make it. I talked to Jason Campbell about this in an interview we'll release here next week. But, you know, 4 different offensive coordinators and, like, you know, he showed flashes at times. But it's a big gamble, man, to think that it's going to click in year 4. And I think Jason Campbell showed more in his junior year than Walker White has shown in his third year starting. So I don't, like I said, at some point you just have to, I think you got to accept that a guy is what he is and then move on. It just sucks that your other options are young and inexperienced.
Right.
But everybody's there until they're not.
Yeah, and guys, I just want to say this: like my NIL thing, my NIL question is: all right, Auburn already spent NIL here, and when everybody was screaming about go to the portal, go to the portal, go to the portal, Auburn. I made this point on our show: is Auburn would have to go back into the portal, fork out more NIL to go grab a. Everybody was screaming for Cam Ward. Cam Ward was asking for a bag. So that's even more NIL that you got to spend there. So now you got 2 quarterbacks that you've dumped NIL on, and one of them's going to have to sit the bench.
Right.
And so, like, I never saw Auburn. I never saw them going into the portal and grabbing a guy unless it was a guy like a Salter that you could kind of get for cheap and bring him in. He wasn't asking for $1 million. Like maybe the kid at Arizona, he was rumored to go in, or Cam Ward or somebody like that, you know. And I just, I think NIL does play a big factor into a lot of decisions that are made in college football today, especially when you look at the rosters and when people enter and leave. And I just think it has a big deal with it.
Yeah, I think to cap that comment, I think, you know, there's not an endless pot of money. So when you invest in one dude, right? And that dude doesn't work, it's just like any other investment, guys, right? Like, you know, you invest and your money, if it doesn't work out, your money's gone.
And there's expectations when those kids come in too.
Yeah, you in investing, we call it you holding the bag, right? You invest and then the stock goes down right after you invest. And it's like, crap, I can cut my losses, or I can sit here holding the bag, hoping that it turns around. So what are they going to do? Are they going to cut their losses, or are they going to hold the bag?
Y'all are wild in the comments, but all right, let's get to some of this. Chris S says I owe somebody an apology. I saw Ryan Williams was 100% not going back to Bama. LOL. It's okay, man. Chris S says we'd be punting on 2024 by starting Walker White, but we definitely keep the attention of our wide receivers.
I think you punted on this year. So, yeah, I mean, that's how they started. They punted on this season, guys. So if you're going to punt on this year, hell, punt on next year and play for the long term. That's how I see it, right? But at least get your guys to development in the meantime.
C. Hardman says, I think the offensive line this year is better than the one Bo played behind in 2019. Give Walker a shot.
I would agree with that. And I thought that, you know, Thorne and those guys had not the best, but average to a little bit better than average pass blocking. The pressure rates bear that out. And if they're going to be at least average for him, and he's a top 50 player, put him out there, man. You know, because I don't see a world where Cam Coleman doesn't start game 1.
Oh yeah.
Show me a world where Cam Coleman doesn't start game 1. I think he goes out there game 1.
He's not healthy or something, but yes, I'm with you.
He is the prototypical receiver Hugh Freeze has been preaching about this whole time he's been at Auburn. Right? Catch radius, speed, all that, vertical, all that stuff. Come on, man. He's going out there. You put him out there with somebody who can get him the ball. Because if he's not catching it, you suck. Right? Like, let me be clear. Like, if you can't throw a catchable ball to Cam Coleman, it's you. You know what I mean? Yeah, you break up your girl, you're like, look, baby, it's not me, it's you. Right? Like, that's the conversation you're having. I'm great. It's you.
All right, guys. Listen, let's get to the drawing. We'll give some quick
Yeah.
comments about basketball, and we will get out of here. Mike G, what are we giving away, sir?
We're giving away a mug, man. So hashtag get your weight up. You guys got to get in here. Not a ton of you guys in here. I'm gonna pull an icon, y'all. I'm not gonna wait. So
Yeah, that's
2
fine.
more seconds. 14 people. 14.
Nope. Keep it. Yeah, that's it.
I'm rooting for Alyssa. I've seen her like 4 times already because there's only 14 people. No,
Beast mode.
Wait, beast mode. His old swole ass. You won before, but we're giving away a cup, so it don't matter. Beast mode, are you here? Are you still here? You got to be here to win, bro.
Beast mode for sure. He usually is here, so let us know if you already have a mug. Something tells me that you're already sipping from the cup of greatness. So let us know. Let us know.
You got protein in his coffee.
If you're, I know, right? Got some whey in this mug. Before we get out of here, Auburn has cut the lead to 7, coming out of that. Coming out in the second half. Auburn's beginning they're playing with a sense of urgency. What do we expect? He says run it back. So run it back. Mike.
He says run it back. All right, my guy says
appreciate that, beast mode.
We appreciate that, my guy. Just wanted to give.
I knew you had whey. I know you was putting whey in your Rapport mug. I already knew it.
We got like 11 more people in because Tim the Two-Bang.
I know he's here. I know he's here. Confirm it, please, so we can tell you what you need to do for sure.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, how do we feel about this second half? I know we're not going to hang on too much longer so we can catch the rest of it. How are we feeling?
Defense. Auburn's just got to ratchet up the defense. Run them off the 3-point line. Make them beat you down low. They know how to do this. Now, they're not in Neville. Neville's an incredible environment. But to be a good team, you got to win games on the road. This is their test. The NET loves Alabama, guys. With as many losses as they have, they're still like an NET top 10 team. So they've had a tough schedule so far this year. This is a solid team Nate Oates has. He's put together some solid squads there, but ultimately this is a game you got to show some grit, come back and win this one. Rebound, dominate. You're better. You're still better than them. It's just their house.
I think the thing. Go ahead, Blake. What's your thoughts?
No. I was just going to say shot selection. Stop taking stupid shots.
Be efficient.
Just like that set that Trey just ran right there. That is what Auburn needs to do. Stop jacking up threes. And just slow it down a little bit. I feel like Auburn's been a little too quick tonight. Slow it down, and just stop jacking up 30-footers. I mean, I can't stand it.
Yeah. I think they got to be efficient offensively. They had 9 turnovers at the half to Bama 7. Take care of the ball and be more efficient on offense. So that's that. Listen, I think. Did we hear that?
Work on the boards.
Did Tim confirm that he was? Yes, definitely here. So here's what we need you to do, sir. Email us business at the War Rapport. Business at the War Rapport. Give us your physical address, and we will send that mug to you. Congratulations and thanks for supporting. Final thoughts before we get out of here, gentlemen.
Recruiting has been what they've hung their hat on, right? So this was a great job. I like that it's successful because he clearly put all the energy that he had into recruiting. He preached about recruiting. He said he needed guys, and he went out and he got guys. And now you've got to show that you can do something with them. But it starts here. Recruiting is still the lifeblood of college football, especially in the SEC. So Hugh Freeze was brought here primarily for that purpose. Now that you've accomplished that, you've got to move on the field results. You got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. After the bowl game, so I was busy recruiting. I didn't get involved with the game plan until a week of. No more, man. Like this is time to start showing progress. I may be one of the few, but I think he can show progress without it showing up huge in the win column. See, SEC, man, it's tough. Right? But the offense can't look like it did last year. Like, I think that wasn't, how bad it looked wasn't a talent issue in my book. It was a system issue. The tug of war between him and Montgomery obviously was bad for this team. They made a change, and now he's going to wear it moving forward, which I think is the best plan, because he cut his cloth as in this industry being a play caller. So call plays, figure out how to call plays.
I'll say this: college football is one with Jimmys and Joes and not X's and O's. All right, so that's what a lot of my Alabama buddies, they always say to me is, you got to have the Jimmys and Joes before you get to the X's and O's. So look, Hugh, like Mike G said, Hugh went in, said, hey, at the beginning of the season, look, he told us we sucked. All right. He straight up told us, he was like, look, we're not good. All right. And that's just, it happened. We hear the New Mexico State jokes and all of that, but he went in and he recruited. He got kids to come in here and play, and you're at a 12-team playoff now. So 9-3 could potentially get you into a 12-team playoff. And I think you have to look at this as positive, and it's got to turn around on the field, but you're getting elite players in here. And when you really look at recruiting, man, the top 10 teams in recruiting, they compete year in and year out. You're up there with the Ohio States and the Florida States and the Penn States and all of those teams. You're up there with them. Oregon, all of those teams are there at the end, 10, 11 wins. They're there in the top 15 every year. So you're getting back to that. And I think you got to be excited as an Auburn fan. And, if it continues to go this way, look, I'll tell you one thing. I'm very high on Mike Norvell at Florida State. He got enough time to turn a program around. And Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, what he did there, he took that job at Mizzou during COVID. I don't think of a much more difficult time to accept a job, and you get hit with COVID. And then now they're Cotton Bowl champions at Mizzou, and they're beating Ohio State in a bowl game. I didn't have that on my bingo card, so we got to be patient somewhat and just let this 2025 class could really turn things around for the Auburn Tigers, fellas.
We will definitely wait to see. Also, we'll keep you guys posted if we hear any news in terms of a defensive coordinator. I know we're still looking to hire one, so we will definitely keep you posted. Mike G, tell the people how they can get a green name, sir.
Hey, come on, become a patron. Help us keep the work at the War Report going. We appreciate everybody who does that. Get yourself a green name, become a patron. $5.99 a month. Hit that join button right there on your iPhone, Android device, or your computer. Guys, don't forget, this segment is brought to you by the Opelika Rage Room, brand new midweek report sponsor. Go visit them at 1510 2nd Avenue in Opelika. You've got some frustration to get out, you can break some stuff. They got a variety of things to break. I've been there a couple times, and I can tell you the owner is a stand-up guy. Might be the most stand-up guy I know. But he wants you to come in and get your frustration out in a positive way at the Rage Room in Opelika. They also have a Birmingham location. Check them out at 2616 7th Avenue South in Birmingham if you got to break some stuff up north. Check out the podcast network, the Auburn Express Uptempo College Loop, and Just a Sec, bringing you guys great audio-only content for your commute. So we definitely want you guys to check us out there. Download, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Shout out to the Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com for all your herbal supplement needs. They've been longtime sponsors of our channel, so we appreciate them. Use code REPORT to get 15% off that Rogue Shop order. Also, Manscaped. Manscaped.com, guys. Cheers to the New Year's from our friends at Manscaped. They got the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra over there, helping you keep clean and fresh for the new year. For your lady, Manscaped.com. Use code REPORT to get 20% off plus shipping on that order. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with more content, Friday morning drop, and over the weekend tailgate.
And we appreciate you guys, especially those of you who are sharing this video, smashing that like button and subscribing if you're new to the channel. We're on the Instagram, X, Facebook at The War Rapport, also on TikTok at TW Rapport. Except for now, guys, we will definitely keep you posted if any news drops in terms of the coordinator, and we will definitely see you for the morning drop on Friday. But until then, enjoy the rest of this game. Hopefully, Auburn makes a comeback. And as always, War Eagle.
Worry.